Hello and welcome to the lesson Dimensions of Cross-Platform Compatibility. In this lesson, we will discuss what is cross-platform compatibility, what are the dimensions of device compatibility, what causes problems with browser compatibility, and what are the challenges related to responsiveness. Here we will be focusing on the problem of maintaining coherence and consistency of our website or web application. Because cross-platform compatibility characterizes a website or web app that remains consistent in its functions and appearance across different devices, operating systems, web browsers, and screen resolutions. So we already see that there are multiple dimensions and multiple configurations that we need to include in our attempt to make the product usable and accessible for multiple users that might use different configurations in interacting with our website or web application. It is very important to stress that cross-platform compatibility is not only a technical issue, it is also a type of issue that is related to the professional image of a company or an institution, which is the publisher or the owner of the website in question. Because if something is not working well, it is not just problematic from the technical point of view or even usability point of view, it also projects negative image of the organization. So we will need to do those tests also regarding the PR aspects of the operations of the institution or company in question. So when we speak about device and operating system compatibility, we need to acknowledge first that users will be using different devices. And by that, I mean mobile devices, desktop computers, which include laptops and tablets. So these are different types of devices. And here you see the market share of different device types. That is more or less true, or it's been more or less true, the percentage of market share within the last few years. It changes. More and more people use mobile devices, but in general, that is the situation right now. And of course, these different types of mobile and desktop tablet devices have different subtypes, because we have multiple smartphones that people use, multiple laptop computers, multiple vendors of those devices. So it makes the whole picture even more complicated. But that is just one dimension of the problem, because we need to include operating systems. And here you can see the landscape of desktop operating system. We have devices that use Windows, and they are majority, but you also have MacBooks, Mac computers that will use OS, Mac OS for their operations, and therefore they may provide different types of challenges for our web development project. And then, of course, we have different mobile operating systems. And while on desktop computers and laptops, you have majority of Windows users, in mobile, you have Android users and iOS users, and their respective issues, their respective requirements need to be addressed. So when we speak about addressing those compatibility issues, we need to make sure that we acknowledge differences in which our website, the web application, will be working on those different devices and different operating systems. One example, some of those systems will provide certain fonts, for example, and some of them will not. And if we are relying on the default fonts that we assume are installed on all devices and all operating systems, we may sometimes encounter some issues, because we'll use a font that is available on Windows but is not available on Mac OS, and so on. So we need to acknowledge those dimensions of compatibility. Then we have web browser compatibility problems, and they relate to the fact that different web browsers will interpret HTML, CSS, and JavaScript slightly differently because they rely on different rendering engines. And in different browsers, you have different engines that will slightly differently interpret, understand the languages. And it will lead to some discrepancies in how those browsers display different elements of our website. And we need to remember that we should not force users to use specific browser to access the website and the website's functionalities. So the solution to the problem of web browser compatibility is not to say to the users, this website was prepared for this particular browser and the version of that browser, because that is also important. Browsers have different versions, and different versions differently interpret different languages. We need to make sure that users will not be forced to use the version that we used while we were designing and developing the website. They should use what they normally use. And sometimes, of course, there will be issues that cannot be eliminated, but in most cases, they should see and should get the same product. And just to see what is the landscape of desktop browsers, we see that a vast majority of users use Chrome browser with Edge, Microsoft Edge, and Safari, which is the default browser on Mac devices and iPhones, will use slightly less users will use those browsers, with Firefox and Opera being used less and less. There was a time when Firefox was the most popular browser, and Internet Explorer was quite popular also because it was the default browser in Windows machines and so on. But the landscape changes. On mobile devices, you have Chrome again, with similar percentage of users using mainly Chrome, but with more users than on desktop computers use Safari browser, because it is a browser that is default in Apple devices. And then about 5% will use Samsung Internet browser, and other browsers on mobile also are at about 5% in total. So we have a complicated, complex image that we need to acknowledge while we are making design and development decisions. And then we have responsiveness, and responsiveness is something that we already spoke about, so we won't define it again. It relates to the way, of course, in which website should be displayed and should align itself to the resolution, screen resolution. Here you see the variety of screen resolutions across different mobile and desktop devices, and you can see that the majority of the screen resolutions consist of multiple different mobile and desktop resolutions, but also there is this 36% which says other. Here it means that we have even more different screen resolutions, but they are represented by fractions of percentage points, and it means that we have hundreds of different screen resolutions that should be working. With our website should be working for those resolutions, for those screens with those resolutions. Of course, a variety of those resolutions is a reflection of a variety of devices that people are using, and the challenges are then multiplying if we think about all the possible configurations. So we need to conclude with the several points. First, cross-platform compatibility encompasses device, operation system, browser, and screen resolution. So here you see those dimensions of compatibility. Then the use of different devices and operating systems will be different with regard to specific regions and audiences. That is something that we also need to acknowledge. So it is not just that globally we know what is the use of particular platforms. We need to also do some research, conduct some research. What is the state within particular region for which the website or web app will be designed, and also what is the usage of different platforms within audiences that are our target audiences. Then we need to take into account how different web browsers interpret HTML and other languages, with regard also to the fact that different web browsers have different versions that may rely on different standards, and in some domains, users will rely on older browsers because, for example, some standard website that all people within certain domain or market are using is also compatible only with this older version of the web browser. There are some specific situations like that. So we have this complication which relates to web browsers. And then the variety of platforms will translate into wide range of different screen resolutions, and they will require responsive web design. So next we will speak about the methods of ensuring cross-platform compatibility. Thank you so much, and see you soon.